Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select two or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the PrizePicks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Mavs Moneyball After Dark. This is Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe, the editors at Mavs Moneyball. You are joining us at about 10 p.m. on Friday, November 18th. The Dallas Mavericks just blew the Denver Nuggets off the floor 127-99. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing good. My little Mavs Moneyball Slack bet is off to a tremendous start.
Talk about that. I want the people to know. It's a great bet.
After the Houston loss, and we were all understandably pretty upset about that game, I laid down the challenge that the Mavericks would win at least 4 out of the next 6 games or better, with their 4 out of the next 6 being Denver twice, Toronto, Boston, and Milwaukee. So obviously 6 really good opponents. Well, 5 good opponents over the course of 6 games. And I know it seems crazy to say that after the Houston game, but I mean, if you've been watching this Mavericks team in the Luka Doncic era, this is just kind of what they do. Look at the schedule, look at their wins, look at their losses. They play good teams well, and they play bad teams poopy. It's just kind of the laws of nature for the Mavericks since they drafted Luka. Although I guess you could very much argue that Denver was not a good team tonight because, I mean, they're missing their 3 best players. So this could have been another Pelicans situation. So good to see the Mavericks take care of business for once this season.
Yeah, and if you missed the game, were 2 Nuggets players. They're probably, arguably, former MVP Nikola Jokic missed the game due to health and safety protocols. Jamal Murray, who's coming back off an ACL tear, also missed the game due to COVID health and safety protocols. And then Aaron Gordon missed the game due to a undisclosed illness that is not COVID. Gordon is particularly interesting in that I sort of think that he might be the defining Doncic defender in the league, other than maybe Kawhi at like the best possible basketball. It's one of these things where I like the matchup because Gordon is tall and strong. He is the combination of the 2 things that can really slow Luka down, and he wasn't in this game, which meant that the Nuggets just didn't have anybody. Michael Porter Jr., who there was a thing that happened. I don't remember around when, but it was either before draft or right after the draft. Porter Jr. he claims he inadvertently liked a post that said Luka Doncic was overrated. And it's one of those like hilarious slight things that's always stuck out to me. And Luka just abused him. It was a mean, like Luka did mean things in this game where the Mavericks and Luka too really started off slowly. They only scored like 6 points in the first 5 minutes of the game and then proceeded to score 122 points over the next 43 minutes. It was really just I probably did the math wrong there. It was just a really, really brutal game. for people trying to defend Luka. He finished with 33 points, 12 rebounds, and 11 assists in just 35 minutes. I say just 35 minutes because there was a kid played Luka for 15 straight minutes at one point, which was absolutely hilarious. His rotations, kids' rotations are one of these things that he's been under fire for his entire career. But yeah, I don't care. They needed to put the Nuggets away. Like, they put the Nuggets away. There were so many opportunities in this game where the Mavericks would extend their lead, the Nuggets would chip into it. The Mavericks would extend the lead again, the Nuggets would chip into it. And there was an instance in the third quarter where, after being up 19, the Nuggets scored 7 straight. And the Jason Kidd I've come to know and be frustrated by does not call a timeout in those situations. He just lets it happen. He lets teams establish double-digit runs before he calls timeouts. He called a timeout at the 8:30 mark that reset the momentum. And Dallas never really looked back from that moment. I was pleased by that.
Yeah, for sure. And, we're 15 games into the season. So
Yep.
we're starting to pick up some steam, because once you get to game 20 or so, 20 to 25, that's when you start kind of settling in and you start realizing the data is the data for a little bit, unless you're, the Mavericks of last year and you just go on a hellacious run when the calendar flips. So normally, though, it's about 20 to 30 games and you're like, okay, this is the team you have. So it's good to see, Kidd adjusting a little bit. You've already seen him, the adjustments with getting JaVale McGee out of the starting lineup, even if it took a game or two longer than we wanted. And hey, lo and behold, JaVale McGee looked actually pretty good tonight. First good game of the season,
Really did.
I would argue.
And shout out to former Dallas Mavericks trash can.
Oh my God.
DeAndre Jordan, who might be the worst NBA player in the league. He just did the things that were like, it was so, I was having like PTSD flashbacks for covering basketball, because it would just drive me crazy. Like, Jordan was so terrible. He's been terrible for 6 or 7 years, but because he's enormous, he just keeps getting jobs. And he made JaVale McGee look like a superstar. McGee just flashed to the open point in the open place in the paint because Jordan wasn't paying attention, and got like 4 dunks. It was awesome.
Yeah. I don't know how he stays on NBA rosters, because those film sessions the day after do they just ignore it? Like, I don't know what kind of grift he's pulling.
He walks to the wrong spot.
Yeah.
It's not even like he's making the wrong choice in a hustle play.
No, he doesn't move.
It's awful. And he did this with the Mavericks. And we used to have to hear,
that was 5 years ago or whatever.
Right, 5 years ago. And the Mavericks, well, it was Luka's rookie year. So, yeah, I guess 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So we used to have to hear the Mavericks. You know how much he was paid that season, Josh, for fun?
He was. It was over 20 million.
22.7 million. Shout out cap space.
Yeah.
We paid Dirk $5 million that season. So what are we doing? I hope Dirk is making money under the table from the Mavericks somehow. Whatever. But it's just incredible to see, that sort of thing is still happening, where it's like the Nuggets, who by and large run they're really solid when they have everybody. But it just goes to it's interesting watching another team's piece collapse like that, just because of, frankly, like a roster choice that is really poor. And we've been talking about that for 2 days with the Mavericks, where, team assembly is really difficult. And when things are going right with the Mavericks, they just look unbeatable. The question is, how do they get more out of what they're doing? I mean, I had a great time watching this game. One of the things that I just don't understand how the Mavericks are ignoring is how well Luka and Wood play together. It's silly. They're undefendable, and they just don't want to play them together that much.
And it's a really weird trend, because remember when Kristaps was here, how many post-game podcasts did we do? How many stories did we write? And not just us, like almost every single Mavericks media member. It was like, why aren't they running more Luka KP pick and rolls? Like, why aren't they doing that? Because every time they did it, they would get like an amazing look. And it's starting to feel the same way with Wood. It's like, wait, why aren't you just running this play like every single time down the floor until the other team proves that they can stop it? Because so far they have it. And yeah, Wood looked tremendous. And the chemistry with Doncic is obviously there. And I don't know. Maybe this is the start. Again, it's been kind of funny with Wood because I think what was the game that everyone was like, man, I don't know, like what is going on with him? The Brooklyn game where he played 21 minutes
Yep.
and scored 6 points, and they only won by 2. And I think everyone was like, what are they doing with McGee? Since then, I want to say that Kidd has wanted to play him more, but the Portland game he fouled out in 25 minutes. So what are you going to do? The Clippers game, he played a tremendous first half, and then he played an awful third quarter. That helped contribute to the Clippers come back in the game. So Kidd kind of pulled him, but he had a good reason to. Wood did not deserve to be on the floor in the second half. And then he finally played 30 minutes against the Rockets, and we just don't need to speak about that Rockets game. So, and then, he plays 26 minutes only because he doesn't need to, 28 points on 16 shots. I feel like since that Brooklyn game, even though the numbers don't necessarily reflect it, I think things are leaning in the right direction towards of them making the most of Wood. Even though he's not playing 35 minutes a night, I think some circumstances have come up that have prevented him from being on the floor a little bit longer. But I think the coaching staff is finally leaning towards, okay, we just got to get this guy on the floor.
He still only played 26 minutes though.
Yeah, but I mean, that's because the game, did he need to play more than 26 minutes tonight?
I mean, they don't really have guys on their bench that I feel comfortable watching.
That's true. But they finally had a 28-point win, so it's hard for me to quabble about minutes in a game like this.
Sure.
So Powell only played 13. Maxey didn't even play.
Yeah.
So it's not, McGee played 17, but he actually looked good. So, and some of his minutes came in garbage time. So
that's true.
I think the distribution was okay for a Giant win where the game was over in the fourth quarter.
I like that just looking at the box score, because like when I take a billion notes, and so sometimes I just avoid entirely, not on purpose but by accident. Spencer Dinwiddie continued just like he turned back on into becoming a human flamethrower, hitting 3 of 3 from deep. I had an observation, and I'm curious as to what you think about this. He from the right wing is how I think of Luka from the left wing, where if he catches that right above that break point, that is a beautiful shot. I like watching it.
Oh, I agree with you. And you're right about like right next to that break point. He really loves that, like, that little corner where it shifts into the corner 3. Mm-hmm. He loves shooting it on the wing, like right before it breaks into the corner, even contested. But you talked about this. Man, his catch and shoot jumper looks really good. Like his form looks really good. So that's got to be part of the sustainability about this, I think, even if it's not, he's going to have games like last night, or not last night. He's going to have games like the Rockets game on Wednesday. But if he keeps getting catch and shoot looks like this from Luka, his form looks good. He's clearly put time into it. I don't know why he couldn't, keep being a high volume, high average 3-point shooter.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
Sure. Well, and again, we don't know how much to take away from this because they're playing a Nuggets team. It's on the second night. Did they play last night? I think they might have played.
They played Wednesday, right?
They lost to the Knicks in like a barn burner of a game. That was their last loss. But I don't, watching a get right game. I just think there's things you can take away with it and not overread into it. Like Reggie Bullock had he played 31 minutes, 10 points, 4 of 7 from the floor, 6 rebounds. The rebounds I think are primarily a luck based process, like
just because Denver didn't have it and was missing a lot of shots too,
right? But at the same time, with the number of near triple singles and triple zeros that he's put up lately, just seeing him get the ball was kind of nice. He moved the ball well, 3 assists. That's something. I thought he and Green each played a pretty solid. Just they did things that the Mavericks needed at times when the Mavericks needed them. And I've been thinking about this a lot with this roster construction, and that, they're not going away from Luka. I don't know what kid talks like where he's like, we're going to do different things in our offense. Like, it's just not true. They can't. They don't have the team for it.
It's Luka ball till something drastic changes. Yeah.
And so if we understand that, and then we move forward, what has to happen for these guys who are playing extremely limited roles is they just have to find positive impact. And Reggie, quite reasonably, people have been really upset with him, but I also think he's earned the rope to figure it out. Maybe not the minutes that he was playing earlier in the season. There's nothing wrong. I don't mind seeing more Josh Green minutes because, again, he's a consistent plus. I think his defense is pretty solid. The shot is his talk posted some stats about this. Like, I just don't care. The sample's not big enough. You can't take 1 3 a game and convince me to care. He needs to be taking 3 to 4. But he's attacking the rim. He's going in and doing crazy stuff on offensive rebounds. He makes really nice passes. The pass at the end of the first half to Reggie Bullock for 3 was a great example of that. He's just a good extra cog in the kind of wild wheel because the Mavericks play too slow. And when him and Wood are in the game without Luka and then Spencer in, I feel like the pace picks up a little bit. I have no data to back that, but it feels quicker.
Yeah.
And I like that. Like, this is, for as mad as I was last game, this was just nice to go ahead and see them come out and respond a little bit. Now, if they can win a second straight one against Denver on Sunday, I don't care if Denver's hurt. Beating the same team twice in 3 days is hard to do. That'd be nice. That would really tell me something.
That would be nice. And Kirk, did you know that this is their first double-digit win since October 22nd?
Yes, I did, because they lead the league in clutch games. 12 of their 15 games have been clutch games.
Seven of their 9 wins are clutch wins.
Mm-hmm. Now they're like the league leader in clutch wins, but it's important to blow teams out. It's important to improve your point differential over the course of the season. Nobody likes to hear this, but point differential is one of the biggest indicators of whether you're a good team or not.
Yeah, was it that the 2007 67 win Mavs like Achilles heel, then like going in the playoffs? I remember like some writers talking about like, well, they've won 67 games, but they don't have the point differential of a 67 win team. And, of course I was in high school. I wasn't paying attention to that crap. So, but it does have some merit to it. So, and again, it's just nice. You don't have to worry about, Luka did still play 35 minutes, which is kind of funny. But other guys didn't. Dinwiddie didn't hit 30 minutes. And secretly, Dinwiddie's minutes might be even more important than Luka's because he's had 2 ACL surgeries in his career, and
he's
Finney Smith and Bullock. Yeah, Finney Smith and Bullock. The more you can keep them closer to even 30 or below, rather than 35, is better, especially coming off that hellacious playoff run. So, that stuff is nice, and they just needed, like you said, it's been a long time. How many, even their wins, because their wins are such nail biters and they're giving up leads, like, they just don't have a lot of feel good moments this season. So, that mentally, that just probably gets to you in the locker room. Like, they won that Clippers game, but they gave up, they had to freaking scratch and claw. And I'm sure they're happy they won, but they probably get to the locker room. They're like, God, like, what the heck? Like, what do we got to do to put a team away? Like, we can't just keep doing this. So, for them to be favored in a game against a team that's licking some wounds and is injured, that's just, it's hard to find any faults with their performance tonight. Hell, they almost shot 60% from the field. So, they took care of business. And how many times have we gotten on this podcast? We're like, hey, they took care of business. It's always been like, well, they won, but they did this, or they had a catastrophic loss. So this is a nice reprieve from the madness of like the last 2 weeks, it feels like.
Oh, well, that's where we are. I don't really have a lot to add to this one other than the fact that it was nice. I ended up writing the recap during the fourth quarter. Love being able to do that.
I haven't been able to do that all year.
So
shout out to Tim Hardaway Jr. for probably his best game of the season, I think. We've been killing him. I've been killing him because he's been terrible. But He played easily his most efficient game of the season. So, good for him.
Yeah. Well, we'll be back at this on Sunday. Oh, you know what? We didn't talk about something that's actually
What?
like it's easily the most SEO friendly aspect of this.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Luka Doncic notched his 50th triple-double of his career, and he's the second fastest person to do that, beating out Magic Johnson and a bunch of other people. Second only to Oscar Robertson, who did 50 triple-doubles in 111 games, which is like that's just not a thing. The pace in the 60s, like nobody. Luka doing it like this is monstrous and wild. It's record, like it's some of these records from old timers are so incredible, but they're also like nearly unbreakable because the game is so different. So Luka doing what he's done is fascinating, and this is a heck of a exclamation point to do it on because it was really the full Doncic package where he was rebounding well, he was dishing well, and the scoring just came so easy.
Yeah, this was nice because the Portland game was nice, but he had those two crappy games against Orlando and Washington, and he's since those two losses. He's been unbelievable. He's basically been unbelievable outside of those two games. So knowing Luka, he always bounces back from a bad game, so that's good to see. And anytime you're second on a list to Oscar Robertson, it's a pretty good accomplishment too.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go live on the live show because I want to. You should probably go to sleep or go do something else fun because we don't get that many games like this during the course of the season. Just so everybody's looking ahead a little bit, we got a little bit of an odd week. The Mavericks play Sunday, then they play Wednesday, then they don't play again until the next weekend. Now that will probably be nice for anybody who needs a little bit of a break, but I'm curious to see what we end up coming up with in terms of content because I like doing shows just out of habit. It's fun for me. But we'll see what we end up doing. I might space some things out. We'll see what sort of silly content ideas we come up with. I know this stuff occasionally drives journalist Josh Bowe crazy, but I loved that silly, Mavs is Pokemon piece.
Oh no, that's fun. That doesn't bother me. I love it.
It was nice. It was really nice after the really horrible loss to Houston. And then I got to say, Brent Brooks, kind of came across this interview that I've not seen anyone else talk about, and wrote this really just lovely piece about Dirk Nowitzki and where he is right now in his retirement, and just about how happy he is. There was something like really cathartic reading that where, some of these guys, it's just clear, watching them in their retirement, they're not at peace and they don't really have anything they can do about that because you got to find that for yourself. And so listening to Dirk talk about a lot of the things that he talked about was really, really nice. And then Brent's piece around it was quite excellent. So I recommend you check that out. Those things are up on MavsMoneyball.com, and we'll see what else we do over the coming days. Everybody enjoy the rest of your weekend. And if you're listening to this during Thanksgiving week, I hope you have a nice Thanksgiving, and we will talk with you soon.